And welcome everyone to the Washington Wrestle Talk podcast. It is Sunday, February 17th, and I'm just going to set this thing down here. Today is the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. History will be made tonight as the first ever WWE Women's Tag Team Champions will be crowned. 3 teams from Raw, 3 teams from SmackDown. We do know that Bayley and Sasha Banks will start the match for Raw. And I believe it's Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose starting for Team SmackDown. But there's a bigger story breaking as of yesterday. Regarding commentator Corey Graves, real name Matt Polinsky. His wife posted something on Instagram yesterday, and I'm just going to read here what it says. This may be totally below me to do, but I'm hurt. I'm sad. I put 11 years into supporting a man to accomplish his dream, only for him to punch me in the gut. I've been through suicide attempts, alcoholism, among so much more with him and stuck by his side. The kick is finding out that he's been sleeping with one of my daughter's role models all along. At Carmella and at WWE Graves, I hope you guys are happy. I really do. So, the Instagram post was later deleted, but people have been posting it on Twitter. Amy Polinsky also posted a screenshot of a text conversation she had with her husband to her Instagram story, which also was deleted. The screenshot says that threatening the WWE is going to sue you unless she removes the posts. And another Twitter user posted the entire conversation that was had between Corey Graves, Matt Polinsky, and his wife. As of 7 p.m. Eastern yesterday, Carmella and Corey Graves were 2 of the top 5 trending items in the United States on Twitter. So that was yesterday. And one of my news sources is saying that that's how they were able to find out. Of course, there's been, a lot of wrestlers have passed away this year. And this week, we lost a couple of legends. The first was Pedro Morales. Pedro Morales passed away on the 12th of February. For those who don't know, Pedro Morales was, before the advent of, all the brand splits and all the other, what have yous. He was one of the longest reigning WWF champions in the mid-70s. He held the title for, he was like the 4th longest reigning. He held it for like 1,400 and, just some ridiculous, length of time. He held it for pretty much 3.5, 4 years. You don't see that anymore. He won the title on February 8th, 1971 from Ivan Koloff, who defeated the legendary Bruno Sammartino in Madison Square Garden. And a little over a month before that, he won the WWF United States Championship by defeating another legend, Freddie Blassie. Morales held the title from all the way until, I'm just reading on Wikipedia here. He lost it December 1st, 1973. His title run lasted 1,027 days. The longest reign by any Latino, because he's from Puerto Rico, and the fifth longest overall. Bruno, of course, has the longest, along with Bob Backlund and Hulk Hogan. But you're never going to see another title reign that long. He was also the first Triple Crown winner. He won the World Tag Team titles with Bruno Sammartino, but they had to immediately vacate him because I believe it was because he was the Intercontinental Champion at the time, and back then you couldn't hold two titles at the same time. No, it was Bob Backlund he won the title with at the Showdown at Shea, 1980. They had to forfeit the championship belts the following day due to a rule stating that no heavyweight champion could hold a second title at the same time. So, after that, he defeated Ken Patera to win the Intercontinental Championship on December 8th, becoming the first man to win the Triple Crown in the in the WWF, which is now WWE. He later became a commentator for WWF Superstars, was inducted into the WWF/WWE Hall of Fame in 1995, and he kind of stayed out of the spotlight mostly. He passed away, like I said, on the 12th in Perth Amboy, New Jersey, from an advanced case of Parkinson's disease, and he was 76 years old. The second man that we lost this past week was more of an enhanced talent guy. His name was Salvatore Bellomo. He portrayed an Italian, but believe it or not, he was not really Italian. He was, from Belgium, I believe. Let me just pull up his. Yeah, he was from Belgium. He passed away on the 9th of February. His career spanned more than 3 decades. He really didn't. He was an enhancement talent in the WWF. It's probably his most memorable. His most memorable appearance was an quote unscheduled appearance on Piper's Pit, where Roddy Piper goes, "What are you doing here? I didn't order a pizza." But yeah, he was pretty much a he was enhancement talent, or otherwise known as jobber. In fact, he lost to Bobby the Brain Heenan in 1984 in Madison Square Garden. But he also was in Eastern Championship Wrestling, wrestling in the first ever ECW Championship match. And, if that sounds, ECW Championship sounds familiar, Eastern Championship Wrestling was the forerunner to Extreme Championship Wrestling. He died from cancer on February 9th at the age of 67. He really didn't hold much. Really wasn't that prolific of a wrestler, but I just remember watching him as a kid. You can see some of his matches on the WWE Network, from the Madison Square Garden shows. But he was a character and a half. So we lost Sal Bellomo and Pedro Morales this past week. Was hoping to have an interview with someone this week. I have not heard back from her. I've emailed her all the details, but hopefully it'll be next week. We don't, I don't know. I'm just waiting to hear back from her. But like I said, today is the Elimination Chamber. We're about, I want to say, God, what is going on upstairs? I'm in the basement of my house right now, and people are just, I'm about ready to go crazy on them up there. But yeah, Elimination Chamber is in about 70 minutes on the WWE Network. Pre-show is getting ready to start here in about 10 minutes. They did announce that the Cruiserweight Championship will be defended on the pre-show. Buddy Murphy defends against Tozawa. It's going to be... I'm just going to pull up the Elimination Chamber card here. Of course, on SmackDown this past week, we learned that there was a gauntlet match with all the talent in the SmackDown Elimination Chamber. The competitors were Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, Samoa Joe, Randy Orton, and Mustafa Ali. Well, Ali sustained a concussion at a live event the night before SmackDown this week. And he was replaced, by Kofi Kingston of the New Day. So, Kofi Kingston is now in the Elimination Chamber match. And so they did this gauntlet match this past Tuesday night. And I'm here to tell you, Kofi Kingston, for 11 years, I've watched this guy in WWE. I've watched him go through the Jamaican accent guy, the bragging rights where he was on the team captained by DX. I've seen him have his feud with Randy Orton where Madison Square Garden went, exploded when he and Randy Orton were fighting, and he put Randy Orton through a table. But, finally, it's nice to see Kofi get his time in the spotlight. He eliminated in this match Daniel Bryan, Samoa Joe, Jeff Hardy. He lasted over an hour in this gauntlet match, which was pretty amazing. AJ Styles ended up beating him, who immediately was beaten by Randy Orton. With the RKO out of nowhere. So Orton's going to be the last man in the Elimination Chamber. Of course, I said the inaugural Women's Tag Team Championship match is going to be Nia Jax Tamina versus the Riot Squad of Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan versus Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville versus the Iconics of Billie Kay and Peyton Royce versus Bayley Sasha Banks versus Naomi and Carmella. We're going to see, let's just see how long Carmella and Naomi stay in this, especially with the situation with Carmella and Corey Graves and Naomi with her husband Uso, Jimmy Uso, who was arrested in Detroit this past week for disorderly conduct. I'm going to have more on that here in just a little bit, because reason I mentioned that is because the Usos are facing The Miz and Shane McMahon for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, and of course you've got Daniel Bryan defending his WWE Championship against AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, Samoa Joe, and Kofi Kingston. Ronda Rousey defends the Raw Women's title against Ruby Riott. That's probably going to be a throwaway match because, on Raw this past week we saw Liv Morgan try to try to face Rousey. She was quickly defeated. And then Sarah Morgan